Well, which one of those two how do you see it? Where's the bigger issue in the PCA and the Reformed community in general?
I think a lot of it has to do with the generation within that. If you take the older generation, probably there has been a little bit of the duty, grace, duty, grace. I think now the big challenge is the pendulum has swung, and now you've got a generation of the younger generation particularly that's finding it very conducive to think grace, 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 grace. Yes, I believe in duty, but grace, grace, grace. And there's not a balance in that regard. So I would say the greater issue coming upon us now is the side of the antinomian, or practical, what I call practical, not theological antinomianism.
Randy, to build on that, the third question I would ask you then is, in terms of pursuing sanctification, do you think there's an issue about whether or if or how you teach human effort in sanctification, human responsibility in sanctification? Do you see that as an issue, and if so, how do you see it?
Well, I know it's an issue. I know that I've been the object of a lot of criticism of many Christians who hear of our discipleship efforts and so forth and say, oh, it's legalism, it's not grace oriented, because there are commitments you make and there are disciplines that you follow and so forth and so on. So absolutely, I think the question you asked a while ago about the why behind it, I think we're living in a generation today where so many people of the younger generation have found that their acceptance from their parents and everybody else has just required so much of doing well. If I do good in studies, I do good in sports, I get the approval. And there's such a reaction to that. You heard the statement, a man's theology will, morality will dictate his theology. A man's psychology or sociology will also dictate theology without ever knowing it. And I think we've got such a desire for people to say, one illustration will probably answer the question. Had a man in our church who wrote me a very stinging letter, young man, and he said, you don't preach grace. And then he came back and he said, you really do preach grace. I can't say you don't. It's constantly talking about the work of Christ alone and so forth and so on. But he says, because you also talk about what we need to do and how we need to respond, I don't need to hear that. All I need to hear is how much God loves me, how much I'm accepted. Don't give me anything about what I need to be doing. That to me is not preaching grace. That's the story coming through.
Yeah, I had some people call me from a church that was going through this battle, and they said to me, they were hearing what they called antinomianism or libertinism, and they were rightly, I think, interpreting it. And when they said to me, they said, Pastor, we're just getting too much grace. And I said, actually, I don't think you're getting enough, because Top Lady tells us that God's grace cleanses us from its guilt and power. So I can tell a Christian, by God's grace, you can stop this and start doing that. Now, your victory may not be immediate, but you do have the power. The power of sin has been broken in your life. Therefore, we who were in bondage to it, now effort is possible for us.
Exactly.